So trauma bonding is quite vague now, and the idea of it is has a lot of vagueness around it when it comes to the idea of trauma bond and what that means for us, and how we all are seeming to be falling victim to it quite a lot, me included. I'm not exempt from that, and it happens quite frequently, and I've noticed that it happens in relationships, in not just in general on a plutonic sense, but a lot of normal intimate relationships are based from or stem from some form of a trauma bond. And I don't think many actually last that long from stemming from that, especially when it comes to a sense of trying to heal from past wounds and jumping into relationships, and also when we've been hurt by relationships already and we're trying to work through them, and we think we're gravitating towards people, and we think that they're healed versions and they've just helped us through a little thing and we're moving through it, and sometimes we can miss the point and we can fall victim to it. I'm one to do that quite often actually, especially when it comes to me thinking of going towards anyone like on an intimate level. I do fall victim to that, and that's something I've got to work on, I think, a lot more, and I'll be a lot more mindful of, as much as I'm a compassionate man when it comes to that kind of thing. I'm not I don't bed hop, by the way. I'm not jumping in and out of relationships and sleeping around, because I'm not like that. I've been celibate for quite some time now. But in a sense of me wanting to move forward into relationships like that, I'm not one to be like a wham bam thank you ma'am and just keep it moving. I've not really felt to be in that kind of energy and way of being, It's just me personally. That's not for everyone, It's just my choice, But I've noticed in normal dynamics and relationships too, on a plutonic sense, is that quite often I can find myself end up being around like-minded people. That saying, you are the company you keep. You end up consumed by what you consume too, and you are what you eat, kind of thing. So if you're surrounding yourself with others who have been in circumstances and you think we're like-minded and stuff, and you're not quite as healed as you like to be, let's say, or done enough work on yourself to be able to move forwards from whatever circumstance it is you might be working through at that point in time in your life, and namely another person maybe, on whatever kind of sense of relationship you have with him, whether it's plutonic or intimate, we can all fall victim, and we do, and sometimes will and possibly can fall victim to being in that kind of position, regardless. And when like the saying, new levels and new devils. So it might not be as like full up front, and might not be as close to your way of seeing, close in sight as could be. Might not be directly in your peripheral, should we say, with regards to noticing that it's a trauma bond, or that there's a trauma bond happening. I'm not saying that all trauma bonds are bad, that they can't be, turn into good relationships and you can't build strong foundations on either sense, like I said, intimate or plutonic. But I'm namely trying to speak on plutonic, basically, because they're the ones that are leading up into intimate relationships and the dynamics around, because I'm not the kind of man who would specifically just speak to his own gender to make friendships. I'll make friendship with women too. And I've come to learn as well that when it comes to like the online spaces and that, for me to be careful with the kind of relationships that I make with others, and also be mindful of the interactions between us. I'm not saying that every interaction's got to be calculated. I'm just saying be a bit know what's what about what you're sharing. Be a bit mindful, be conscious of our efforts and what we share between each other, especially when you're getting to know new people, and you may be sharing parts of each other with each other, and getting to know, intimate parts of each other, on a sense of not just sexual but intimate. Meaning personal interpersonal dynamics, between two people, can be same sex and plutonic and interpersonal and still intimate as well at the same time. And this is something I'm trying to learn, because I do fall victim to it quite a lot, and it does hurt sometimes, and I end up carrying a little bit more than I should, and I think that others do this too, and I think others have done this with me as well. I think there are some pretty strong characters I met along the way in mainly the online space, I'll say, because it's where most of us are gravitated towards, especially when you've been on a reset journey or find a rediscovery of oneself, you know, like a majority of us do that are single or have come from that way of background, and specifically talking on this topic of the trauma bond, and, you know, and getting into the dynamic itself is what I'm referring to, you know, and but it's something I'm actively trying to be mindful of and trying to work on, you know. It's important, because it really is a vagueness of what we see as a trauma bond. You know, trauma bond isn't always just when you've been in situations, been in the dirt or in the mud with someone, or you've really been through the fucking run of the mill with somebody, you know. And excuse my French, I'll have a sip of PG tips and say excuse my English there, because it was English I used there, not French. So excuse my English term there for a bit slanderous there, but all the same, going back to what I was noting, without making stupid jokes that aren't that funny, there is quite a vagueness when it comes to trauma bonding, and it can start from something as silly as like a sharing a reel with somebody, or agreeing with something that you may be on the fence about, but you can see somebody else's point of view on. And I don't know, say for example, somebody has a view, and you may have had that view but have worked through it, not quite, it's still there, but you like the person, you can see that they're working through things and they're on a level, and you engage with the person on that level, you know, rather than where the level that you're at the moment, and you end up being at that level with that person, and it can kind of keep you a little bit stuck there. And I'm not saying people keep you stuck and hold you down, but I'm saying it's like when I've spoken before, when we hold respect for each other, it's the respect that we meet each other and that we leave each other. So if you've met someone at a certain level, they're going to expect to leave you at that level, and despite you may be feeling different within yourself when you leave it. So it's an imbalance there, you know, and it's a bit toxic, you know, when you think about it in that sense. And I'm not saying that every single person that you have this dynamic with will be toxic, but it's something to note and be mindful about when we're working through challenges, and we're trying not to, you know, stay stuck in patterns and behaviours that have been a bit detrimental to us and others around, both the same and alike, you know. And for me personally, I've noticed this within my interpersonal relationships with the opposite sex and stuff like that, because not every woman that I speak to I've got like intimate like connotations towards, like want to like jump in bed with a woman. I can look at a woman and I can tell her that she's beautiful, and I can admire her beauty and her sexuality and her femininity and stuff like that. And at the same time, I can respect a boundary there in myself, knowing that who I am, and I don't have to pursue every single woman that I find attractive and I can see beauty in. And also, especially when you build a relationship with a woman who may be, you know, going through some things, and you're maybe just being a bit of a support system and being that moment of validation for the woman, because sometimes women can, you know, take that energy on as something a little different to what it is when you may be the kind of person like myself. I'm an empathetic man, I'm compassionate, you know, and I lead with that. And I will always validate a woman, I will always empower a woman to be herself and to stand in her power, as long as she isn't going too far with it. I will call a woman out though for toxic behaviour, or I'll stop speaking to a woman, energetically cut off like that. That's just the way I am, you know. I don't mean that nastily, and I won't always do it bluntly, and sometimes I do and I can, and that's something I have to work on personally, maybe, because that may be leaving an effect on others too. And as you can see, it's quite a complex issue when you think about the vagueness of a trauma bond and the vagueness of a trauma bonding itself, and how we can quite miss it sometimes. And yeah, it's just something to note, especially in the online space again, with social media and the presence of reels and memes and everybody connecting, especially where we've got accounts with like 3,000-4,000 people, some accounts 10,000 plus. So the amount of engagement you have and the influx of people gravitating towards you when you're sharing that, you know, insights about things and challenges that you work through or that you may be going through, and others may not be quite there, but will share, you know, a feeling that sits with them the same as what you're sharing. It may resonate with them, despite yours maybe coming across as an expression to them. They could use it and turn it into a projection, maybe a little bit unbalanced there, you know. On that sense is what I'm referring to there when I've spoken about that before, you know. It's just something to note, you know, something I'm reflecting on tonight. So the trauma bond and trauma bonding, and it is quite vague, you know, and it's something we should be mindful of. And I'm not saying we're being our heads about it and be careful around every single person we meet, because we shouldn't. We still learn, you know, and but it's just something I've noted and noticed, you know, within myself and my interpersonal dynamics and between relationships of both intimate and plutonic senses, and it's something I'm being mindful of a lot more, and it's just something to note for others to have a look at too. I don't know what they think, and I don't know what you think, rather, should I say. Yeah. But like I said before, this is a safe space here at Craig's Corner. I'm Craig. If you haven't been here before, Craig Collins is the name, and my handle is at Craig Collins 1111, should I say. 1111 on my time. It was just there, as I said, it was quite crazy. You know how these things are meant to be, and that's my number, by the way, tattooed on my traps. I wore a vest tonight on request from a new person into the space, and I've had a bath, but I did my hair tonight as well, so I didn't have to wear a hat as well. So I do take note of you guys when you comment and stuff like that, and but I do tend to not wear clothes at home, and I wear a vest, and you will see me always from the chest up. You don't see anything else. You don't see. I've always got bottoms on and stuff and a pair of shorts, and but I'm at home, and this is my corner of my front room, and hence it's Craig in his corner of his front room, and that's the motto of the channel, you know. But like I said, it's a safe space, and thank you for being here. And if you're going through any of these situations and you're actively working on them and you do resonate with anything that I say, and you want to comment and stuff, there's a direct message in that on YouTube here, and I've noticed it in a studio app and stuff like that, and other creators are utilising it too. And also I've got a handle on Instagram, which is at c.bcollins, so CB Collins. My middle name's Billy, by the way, so in case people wonder what the B was, it's Craig Billy Collins, so CB Collins. And that's my handle on Instagram. You can always direct message me there. You can follow there. It's where I share poetry mainly, and there's just about matters of the heart and also the mind, and sometimes some steamy ones, because we like to get creative with the writing too. I share a lot of art on there too, because I'm creative in that sense. But yeah, if you resonate with this and you felt the need to, please consider giving me a little like, and please do comment and share. And if you haven't already and this is your first time, consider subscribing, please. It will help my channel grow and help push me further into the algorithm. The more engagement I have with the page and the more people I can reach, and you know, the better the communication can get with you guys, and maybe we can learn from each other, and hopefully I can connect with others that are going through the same things, and not to try and trauma bomb with, but though maybe learn from as well. You know, because we should remember as well, not everyone that comes in your life is going to be there for a lifetime. People come for a season, a reason, and rarely a lifetime. Like myself, you might see me today, you might not see me ever again, you know, and in the algorithm sense that is. So maybe consider subscribing so that won't happen. But if you're interested in my poetry and writing on Instagram, my links to my books on both pages on my bio on YouTube and on Instagram. I've got books available on Amazon. There's 4. And they're very conscious, as you can see. That's the kind of man I am. A very thinking man, thoughtful and philosophical, like to be, you know. And but again, safe space, and thank you for being here. And I really appreciate every single one of you guys for giving me your time, because that's the most precious thing that we have. So me giving you my time and my space here, which is safe, is the most important thing we can do for each other. And I hope you're having a good night, and I hope you are safe, and I hope you aren't tied into things that are being a detriment to yourself. So again, have a good one, peeps, yeah?